If you are struggling to lose weight, you have come to the right place. I'm Samantha, a nutrition and dietetics graduate student with about a year to a year and a half left before I become a registered dietitian in the US. There is so much conflicting information about weight loss and nutrition and health in general on social media. And I talk about social media because it's such a huge source to get your information from, and especially with all of these health and wellness, nutrition influencers and stuff who have to keep generating content to keep their audience engaged. I get that part, but a lot of this content is a little too much. It can be overwhelming for somebody who's really trying to do small, consistent steps to become healthier. And when you take into consideration all the nutrition advice ever said online and from everybody, then you really can't eat anything, because some people are against carbs, some people are against fat, fruit, meat, even vegetables. When you take into consideration all the nutrition advice ever, you start to see that everything is conflicting and I don't know what to do, and it can just be too much, especially when people portray themselves as credible sources of nutrition information and you see several different credible sources of contradicting information. It's like, well, what do I even do? I just want to give up. At the same time, there's a lot of itty-bitty suggestions to better your health that can kind of get in the way of the bigger things that are more important to focus on. For example, some people say drink a glass of warm lemon water first thing when you wake up, or don't eat past 8 p.m., or wait at least an hour before you start your morning coffee, or intermittent, what the heck? That is so hard to say always for me. You should do intermittent fasting. You should only eat your major carbohydrate sources in the earlier part of the day and do not eat carbs for dinner. All these little bits of like small pieces of nutrition advice can just get in the way of things like get into a calorie deficit, or make sure you're eating enough protein, or, the bigger things that are actually going to make you see results quicker. Of course, drinking like hot lemon water first thing is great for rehydrating after a long night, or improving digestion, or just getting things going for the day. Sure. But it's really small compared to a lot of these other things that we need to do before so that we can be healthier and lose weight and be awesome. You're awesome even if you're not losing weight, but you know what I'm saying? Anyway, that was just a little tangent before we get going. So this video is to help you kind of hone in on the things that matter most when it comes to weight loss, because if you're just looking at things and trying new things all the time, it's not going to work. Because another part is trusting the process, and if you're constantly switching things up and trying new things and getting discouraged and stopping, then you're not going to see results yet. All that to say, let me tell you my top 5 tips on how to lose weight if you are struggling. So listen here. I'm so excited. I love filming. And little disclaimer before we start. Sorry y'all, but I gotta say it. This video is not for those struggling with disordered eating or an eating disorder. This video is not for those with chronic disease or those with a medical history that may contraindicate some nutrition and exercise recommendations. So always, when you're getting general nutrition advice from the internet or from anybody, then always take it with a grain of salt, because I don't know your medical history. I'm not a dietitian yet. Always talk to somebody individually, like your registered dietitian nutritionist or your primary healthcare provider, before you start anything new, or if you have questions about yourself individually, or really anytime you start something new that is going to affect your body potentially. So this is just general nutrition education for a generally healthy adult population. I'm not telling you to do anything or suggesting you start anything new without talking to someone who knows you better than I do. All that to say, let's do it. My number 1 tip is it is way easier to decrease the amount you eat than to increase the amount you exercise to get into a calorie deficit. So for example, it's much easier to forego 200 calories in your diet than to burn an extra 200 calories in your day. Some of these things are shocking how calorie dense they are. Like, the number 1 thing that's probably most shocking to me is mayonnaise. If you regularly eat mayo and you can cut that condiment to like a 1 teaspoon less than what you normally eat, then you've already saved like 40 calories right there. Or other condiment items, if you can Be a little lighter on the sauces, especially things that are high in sugar like barbecue sauce or ketchup, or things that are high in fat like mayonnaise or ranch, something like that. Then you can decrease your calories really easily that way because condiments don't really provide satiety anyway. The hard part about being in a calorie deficit, I think, is the feeling of hunger. When you're hungry, it's like nothing else matters. Your goals go out the window. You just want to eat. And so decreasing things via condiments or via something else that doesn't provide much satiety, like maybe you eat cereal for breakfast, well, that's really not going to keep you full for long. Not saying you have to cut cereal out completely, but maybe don't eat it every day, or maybe decrease your portion size and increase something else like your protein or your fruit in the morning or something like that. I know some people like to decrease their carbohydrates or like their starchy items and increase their vegetables. Like instead of eating 1.5 cups of brown rice, they eat 1 cup or 3/4 of a cup of brown rice and fill the rest up with cauliflower or zucchini or carrots or something like that. So that's something else you can do. It can keep the same volume of food for you, which is great visually and mentally, but decreasing the calorie content. And so anyway, decreasing your calorie intake just even a little bit. That's the other part, is you don't have to like really decrease your calories to have consistent weight loss over time. Like just 150 calories a day less will get you there eventually. It's going to take a little bit of time, but if it's way more sustainable, then it's way more worth it, because if you just cannot handle a 500 calorie decrease in the day, or even more than that, you know, from your maintenance calories, then you can start smaller and just decrease 150 calories a day, 200 calories a day, and go from there. Because hunger is such a hard thing to combat when you are losing weight, especially mentally. It's like, wow, I can never feel full again, or I am never going to be satisfied again if I stay on this path. And that's why things like yo-yo dieting, fad diets don't work, because it's not sustainable. And I know you've heard that over and over again probably. That's all to say, much easier to decrease your calories a little bit every day than to burn an extra however many calories, because we really don't burn as many calories in exercise as we may think we do, even if the exercise is hard. Like for example, I'm pretty sure 1 minute of planking burns fewer calories than 1 minute of walking, even though planking is a lot harder for most people than walking. I wanted to fact check myself, so I went online. I know this is healthline.com, not sure how credible this is, but as a reference, a 150-pound person burns approximately 3 to 4 calories per minute of planking, and this data is from Stanford University. Same thing, a 150-pound person burns approximately 32 calories per 5 minutes of walking, which equals out to about 6.4 calories per minute. Now, this depends on how briskly the person is walking, how physically active they are, or how much endurance they have already, how much muscle mass they have, things like that. But in general, I just wanted to show you a quick source. Very interesting concept, which brings me to my next point. My tip number 2 is to walk. Walking is one of the most underrated forms of exercise there is. We were built to walk, pretty much. It's really easy on your joints. It's weight bearing. You can do it pretty much anywhere. You can do it at any time, really. If you have to, if it comes down to it, walk in circles in your house. No equipment needed. It will keep you going. And I believe the American Heart Association has a statistic where if you take like a 20-minute walk per day, that decreases your risk of cardiovascular disease by, I don't know how much, but it was a lot. I might put the statistic up here because it's super interesting, just walking. And for a lot of people, not everybody, if you're extremely sedentary, walking may be a big chore and it's hard to get up and do it, which is fine. You can start small. You can start with 5-minute increments a day and go from there. But for a lot of us, walking is innate because we have to walk to get places. And so if you can increase your walking per day, then you increase your calorie burn pretty significantly without much effort. Of course, like I said, if you're not used to any physical activity, start small, because you don't have to go out and walk for an hour to get some benefits. That's the great thing about exercise too, is that it all adds up. Like for example, if you do like a 5-minute super quick workout in the middle of the day and you do a 10-minute super quick workout later in the day, then you've already done 15 minutes of exercise in a day. It's not like you have to do it all at one time. So if you're not used to walking, or if you don't really walk that much, something that I love to do is to maybe do a quick 15-minute walk after dinner. And walking is something that I feel is an easy thing to do when I don't feel like exercising. For most people, that is probably the same. And so I just think walking is underrated because it is a good calorie burner for the amount of effort it takes. It's just excellent in all kinds of ways. So if you just hate the gym, you don't have to go to the gym. If everyone's telling you to do these vigorous workouts to lose weight, you don't have to. You can seriously start out walking. And exercise in the weight loss puzzle is less influential than your diet anyway. It's a great tool for weight loss, excellent tool, and you should exercise for your overall health. But as far as weight loss goes, diet is really gonna be your main focus here. So I just suggest walking as a pretty sustainable way to exercise. If you just can't get yourself to go to the gym, if you always quit on your workout routine, if you're like, I cannot do whatever I'm doing for the next 30 years, then go ahead and walk because it's awesome. You can listen to a podcast, music, talk to somebody on the phone. You can do it really doing anything else. All right, my tip number 3 is to get your micronutrients on point. I feel like the focus is so much on carbohydrates, fat, and protein, and calories, which, you know, those 3 provide the calories. The focus on weight loss is so much on those, the energy component. We often forget your micronutrients are crucial for energy utilization, for your energy levels, for muscle repair. So having your vitamins and minerals on point is going to support your weight loss efforts, especially if you've been deficient for a long time and you're like, I have no energy to work out. Well, you might be deficient in something or something like that. Now, this one's a big one though. Definitely consult your registered dietitian, nutritionist, and or pharmacist if you're on medications, because there can be drug nutrient interactions that go on if you're on medication. Also, you can buy pretty much any supplement straight from any store and there's no warning on it, but some of these, especially single nutrient, large dose vitamins and minerals, can be super dangerous and even fatal. I'm not telling you to run out to the store and buy supplements because number one, always the whole food source of vitamins and minerals, like from fruits and vegetables and whole grains and things like that, are always going to be better because they're often more bioavailable. They're often, well, they pretty much are way more balanced. And just in their natural form there are a lot of synthetic vitamins and minerals on the market. And you know, it's an option, but it's much better to get it from Whole Foods, number one. Number two, you just need to consult with your healthcare providers and registered dietitian, nutritionist to see if you need supplementation or if this would be okay for you to begin anyway. Some that come to mind are vitamin A and potassium supplements that can be really dangerous. So otherwise, talk to somebody that can look at you face to face and tell you what is going to be okay for you and what's not. So that is a huge disclaimer. Do not go run out and buy supplements right after this video, please. Some of the micronutrients to consider and think about, maybe, I don't know if I'm getting enough of this, maybe your B vitamins, iron, selenium, chromium, magnesium, vitamin D, zinc. Those are kind of your broad ones that deal with energy utilization, energy levels, muscle repair. Another thing that I want to mention is if you are not deficient in these micronutrients, then adding more to your diet isn't going to do anything. The amount you need is the amount you need. So anything extra is not really going to benefit you. It's just either going to be eliminated or you're going to just build up some in your liver stores, or in the worst cases, it's going to be toxic to you. But anyway, you only need your 100% daily value of these minerals and vitamins for them to be beneficial. So for example, chromium is not going to help you any more than it already is at the level you need it at. Which is why I find it so funny that so many energy drinks and other things have 500% of your daily recommended value of vitamin B12. Like, you don't need that. That's so silly. The 400%, well, depending on if you're male or female and how old you are, you need different levels of different vitamins and minerals, but in general, that 400 extra percent is just going to waste. It's just silly to me. But that's all to say, get your micronutrients on point as well as your macronutrients on point, because it can be really helpful. My number 4 tip is you do not need to do anything fancy. And this might be a little hot take, and not fancy, but you don't need to do everything that people say you need to lose weight. Like, you do not need to fast. You do not need to do fasted cardio. You do not need to lift weights. That is probably the most controversial. Of course, lifting weights is amazing for other things like maintaining your muscle mass as you get older. When you do build more muscle, you do burn more calories throughout the day. Weight bearing exercise is amazing for you. It helps your bones. But if you just get so bored weightlifting, if that's not a sustainable way to work out for you, if you'd rather do home workouts with lighter weights, if you'd rather do Pilates, if you'd rather just have a variety of other things, like you play tennis on one day, you go to Zumba another day, you cycle, and you just don't like weightlifting, it's not going to be the end of the world. You can still lose weight without lifting weights. Not to discredit lifting weights for all of the other benefits it has, but also I want to say I'm not, in kinesiology or a personal trainer or anything like that, but it's really hard to separate nutrition from exercise when we're talking about health and wellness. So I just like to mention it. I am a yoga teacher and I've been assistant teaching martial arts for a long time, which deals with a lot of body mechanics and adjusting people. But at the end of the day, I'm not a personal trainer or have any formal training in exercise. So as far as intermittent fasting and things like that, it can be helpful to get you to a certain place. If it's helpful for you to decrease your eating window from noon to 8 p.m., which is a very popular eating window, if it's helpful for you to just limit yourself to those 8 hours to eat in a day so that you don't overeat, then you can start there. And if you want to get more relaxed with it later, you might have to start eating breakfast, because you started a new job or something like that. Then you can go from there and stop intermittent fasting. And maybe you've learned how to, eat the amount that you need to lose or maintain, and you're good to go. You don't need to intermittent fast anymore. Like I said earlier in the video, all of these little things that people suggest can just be overwhelming and not really help you like some of these other things can, like just getting in a small calorie deficit or going on a walk every day. You really don't need to pay attention to those little things, at least not right now if you're just beginning or you need to get back into it. And lastly, my number 5 tip, which is also a little bit of a hot take, is you can still eat sugar every day and lose weight. Is it better to not have added sugar or not a lot of it? Of course. Well, you shouldn't have a lot of it, period, but you can still have some added sugar every day and lose weight. This is my philosophy because I have a big sweet tooth. Life is short. I have sugar in my coffee every day. It's just sugar. I just use regular sugar and milk in my coffee every day. I also have dessert pretty much every day. I rotate. I love cookies. I love ice cream, and I eat it every day. Now, I'm not the most shredded person in the world, but who really needs to be the most shredded person in the world all the time? It can be fun for bodybuilding and stuff like that. It's all about sustainability. And if you just cannot forego your nighttime dessert, you don't have to. You may need to adjust it if you eat a whole lot of dessert, if you're a big nighttime eater and you need to kind of shift some more of your calories to the time where you're awake and you're moving around and you need to have that energy to fuel you. You may need to move some of your nighttime eating up, or you might need to decrease some of what you're eating. If you're eating a pint of ice cream every night, or if you're eating 8 Oreos every night, then you need to decrease that. Oreos are so calorie dense for the little bit of satiety they provide. If you eat 4 Oreos, which is really easy to do, I believe you're already up to 280 extra calories for that day. So for me and nighttime eating and dessert, it really depends on if you're focused on volume, like you prefer volume in your nighttime eating, or if you are okay with just the actual taste and having a little bit of something that's more calorie dense. Like if you can be satisfied off of 2 Oreos, you can set aside 140 calories for that. Or if you're more like, that's not going to satisfy me because I want some more volume, well, maybe consider something like, if you have a salty tooth, popcorn, or try out some recipes for sourdough chocolate chip cookies or something that is a little more filling and still satisfying, but less calorie dense and super sugar laden than Oreos. There are so many things we can, I could make a whole video on nighttime eating. I don't know, often it is really mental for those who love to eat at night, which is me. I love my nighttime eating routine, and that can be really hard during weight loss when it's like, okay, it's my time to wind down. It's my time for my snacks and my TV. That can be a really hard thing to navigate when you're trying to lose weight. When you've been really, really awesome the whole day, but then nighttime comes and you just cannot get your mind off of those Doritos, then yeah, that can be tough. So anyway, that could be a whole nother video in itself, but that's all to say that you do not have to give up your nighttime eating routine or dessert. You just have to modify it to fit your needs and wants, especially if you want this to be sustainable for a very, very, very long time. So I hope this video made sense. I always am like, I need to go back and edit this and hope it makes sense, because during my filming, I have to re-say a lot of things because it's hard to talk about this stuff and be coherent the entire time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Let me know your journey in the comments. Subscribe if you love nutrition info, and I will see you later.